executive session and return to the public session.
A second.
It's 7:08. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Okay, we'll start with Pledge of Allegiance, as we always do. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The emergency exits are the door you came in and this door over here. Let's see. Roll call, Dawn?
Supervisor Blackman?
Here.
Council members Revelar?
Here.
Ham?
Here.
Ahern? Here. All present and accounted for.
Okay. I move that we accept the agenda for tonight.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Okay, it's a good thing. Public comment on agenda items. Anyone? Wow.
I do.
Okay. All right, then next is this.
Judy, do you?
Oh,
Or just, okay,
okay.
so I do. So I
Oh, you have something. Okay,
Yes.
you go right ahead.
So I'd just like to let the board know I have, and identify and recognize that I've circulated a public comment that I received on this date from Joshua Frankel regarding ADUs, and he's asked that I read this aloud. That he's writing to urge the town to adopt the property tax discounts for ADUs. Our town is in a housing crisis. In the past 5 years, our region, the median scale of homes has nearly doubled. Rents have risen by 25 to 45%. Demand to live here is rising fast. Right now, if we do not act boldly to increase housing supply in Amenia, prices and thus property taxes will continue to rise faster and faster. Longtime residents will be pushed out. Encouraging ADUs by passing this tax discount is one of the best strategies that we have. It reduces taxes, increased housing supply, slow the rise in rents, prices, and property tax, support multi-generational living, make easier for local businesses to hire and retain workers, and to give Amenia residents the chance at free money for a slate versus via the +1 program. All while maintaining our town's character visually, architecturally, and economically. Sometimes it may seem like voting for something new is voting for change, but that is not how it works when it comes to housing. Vote against this tax is a vote to accelerate the change that we will all know is happening now. It would be a vote to accelerate the prices going up. I realize it's an election year for the town. Let's not make this an election issue. Let's take it off the table by voting unanimously to approve the property tax discount for ADUs. Thank you all for that you do for our town, and this was submitted with gratitude, Joshua Frankel.
Okay, great, thank you. And thank you, Josh.
Frankel's a resident of Wausau. It said that in the end.
Oh, and
Yeah.
he's also a member of the Amenia Housing Board. Let me start with the AV upgrade, which is going on as we speak. Matt is being trained in how to use the system. It would have actually been installed earlier, but we've ordered 5 TVs, of which we've only gotten 2 that didn't have smashed screens. But Jeff and his lovely wife have been doing an enormous amount of work over the last couple of weeks to do the installation. And I got to see an example of this thing turned on, and it really is going to be, I think, especially good for planning and zoning, because you'll be able to see the drawings they're looking at, which you can't at all see now. Okay. A second thing, the charcoal kilns were actually turned over to the town this morning. The town historian was there and some other people from the Historical Society, and there were no keys exchanged. It's actually a combination lock, but it's sort of exciting to have them, and got more information on the very kind of interesting history. They're actually, this year, they are going to be 200 years old, which is kind of amazing to think that we were making steel that long ago. 1824. The highway garage, the documents were submitted to New York State DOT so that Highway can begin building their entry from Route 22. We'd asked the Highway Department to take on tasks that they felt they were able to do, and one of those was clearing trees and also doing some of the paving, and the driveway apron was one of them. So that hasn't started yet, but hopefully we'll be able to soon. The sidewalk to Beekman, last I heard, there was a whole complication between the engineers, the contractors, and New York State DOT. But all the material submissions, I think, have now been received from the general contractor, and last I heard they were going to start Tuesday finally to be forming and building the sidewalk. The town website, as you probably know, is up and running, and almost all the comments have been positive. I do want to encourage people to sign up, not sign in, and give their contact information to the section of the website that requests it. We right now don't have any way to let people know if there's a pipe burst or a big fire or a tornado coming. And if people provide their contact information, we can send information on an emergency out to everyone at once. So please sign up as quickly as you can, because we don't want you to be hit by a tornado for lack of signing up. The LED sign, there's a site meeting with the fabricator on Monday about the installation, and Charlie has been very busy sort of pushing this along. Town hall repairs, exterior painting work began this week to remove flaking paint and rust on the building, and they've been working on that for a few days now. Hopefully that will be impressive when they're finished. There was a lot of deferred maintenance. We had requests from the fire department and others about tree pruning. These trees will begin work this coming week on places where the trees overhang the sidewalks and are tangling with overhead wires. So that will be taken care of this week. The farmers market opened this past Friday evening from 3 to 7. Attendees and vendors felt it was a great success. There were 6 booths and a crepe cart. There was music and stuff for kids. Thanks to Northeast Community Center and the Silo Foundation for a lot of work done to make it all come together. It was quite an undertaking, and the farmers market will continue Friday evenings from 3 to 7 for every other weekend, not this weekend, but the weekend after, until at least the middle of September. So I'm happy that after 15 or 20 years, that's finally come back. Okay. Main Street, there was another meeting of the committee chairs on Saturday to discuss improvements along Main Street and Mechanic and other places in the town, and each group agreed, or each committee chair agreed to discuss it with their committees and discuss priority projects. Fountain Square, we now know that we need to provide formal drawings for New York State DOT since when Fountain Square was created, it was done within their right-of-way. So we're going to need a landscape architect to do that, and hopefully that will happen before too long. We interviewed applicants for the code enforcement officer for the building department, and after interviewing all of them, none felt right for the position, which is too bad. Only one of them actually was certified, and he turned us down. So we're going to re-advertise with some changes to the ad. Some of the stuff we heard back in terms of the number of hours and stuff like that, I think we can adjust. Recreation is going to probably announce their summer concert, but I'm very happy that that's starting again this Monday. But I'll leave that to you to announce. But everyone has loved that program over the last 2 years, and I hope people will come out and enjoy the first band. Emergency Response Committee met at the beginning of the heat wave and set up a cooling center in cooperation with the Wasaic Firehouse. I'm afraid that no one actually went to the cooling center, no one took advantage of it, but I'm sure people have more difficulty at night than during the day with the heat. Maybe that's not true, but in any event, people hadn't lost power, so I think the lack of air conditioning was less of a problem than it usually is. But I appreciate their being willing to take that on. And we had we had a lunchtime pizza and ceremony to thank those who have been in service here for a long time. This was 8 people who'd worked 10 to 20 years. We gave out awards to people who'd been here longer than that at our last town board meeting, and they seem to be pleased to get noticed. And we were awarded a grant for $118,000 towards the water system from Senator Hinchy's office. That was something that I believe Charlie and, was Christie involved in that, Charlie? In terms of applying for that grant from? Oh, I'm sorry. We're on the list, but they had said that there could be $118 coming our way for the water system. And that's the end of the supervisor's report. Dawn?
All right, so good evening. For the month of June, the town clerk's office collected for the local share $355.75, with a total for the local, county, and state revenue of $394.25. The minutes from our prior meeting were circulated. Have you guys had the opportunity to review, and you're ready to go ahead and accept?
Yes?
Is there a motion?
Yes, I'll make that motion.
Nicole,
To
is there a
accept the
second?
minutes.
I'll second.
All
I didn't
in
want to spit
favor?
the water out.
Aye.
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 All right, any opposed? So I am in receipt, and I know I've had the opportunity to share with some of the board members. Abdur Muhammad currently has the title of Chief Constable. Due to his personal schedule, he's going to have to step down from those special duties. So this evening, with regret, I am asking the board to go ahead and accept his resignation as Chief Constable.
I'll accept that.
Leo?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a
I'll
second?
second.
Anna? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And then with that being said, we have had the opportunity to speak with Marcos. Marcos has been the next one who has been here with time and most well-experienced. So at this time, I'd like to go ahead and if there is a motion to go ahead and accept Marcos Mendoza for the position of Chief.
I'll make that motion enthusiastically. He's been really helpful around the building and is a very nice guy.
I'll
Excited.
second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And just for everybody understands, that's just for an in-house type of title and responsibilities. So thank you to both of the gentlemen for what they've done and what they're going to be doing. And then I want to give a heartfelt thank you. I know I did it on Facebook, and I'm kind of like, sometimes I do get emotional about our blood drives because it is a near and dear personal project here for the Kligner family ever since Chris did have his heart attack 12 years ago. So we have been working and doing our due diligence to bring us to be heart-safe community and to be knowledgeable about going and doing those follow-ups. This past week, we had our 17th blood drive here in the town of Amenia. Since then, we try to do 2 a year, but we've had some COVID issues and we had to stop. But what does that really mean for the town of Amenia? It means all of us together working as a community, not only for those that were able to donate, but those that were able to share the announcement and tell a friend and phone a friend to come down. Year to date, we have saved 527 lives with those donations, and I thank everybody for participating. I have already have the date for 2026, so mark your calendars, start drinking fluid now. Be sure to eat the steaks, all year round, but our 2026 date is going to be February 4th, and it'll be here at the town hall, so.
And you'll remind us before then.
I will certainly remind you guys, but that's
Very
really
good.
big, that's really big. So you guys, as a community, we say that Amenia is small, but here on the map, we are saving lives, and we're doing it together as a community, and we are showing teamwork, so I am beyond grateful for that. With that being said, happy 4th to everybody, and be safe.
Okay. We have a number of discussion items, so we might as well start on those. Actually, we will start on those. Roseanne, I'm turning over the need for alternates to the planning board to you, since you voiced that first, I think.
Well, the concern for the planning board is that we have had, in the past, we have had issues with attendance, and we seem to possibly have issues at some point because there's some big projects coming up where people need to recuse themselves. One of the planning board member already announced that he had been asked to recuse himself from an item. So I think it's important that since, in 1 month, I think they missed 2 meetings in a row where they didn't
The
have a
planning
quorum,
board,
the
right.
planning board. And so, and that cost us money because it made the people that were supposed to present or had things that they had to have done, there was a deadline, and that would cost more money as when you asked for extensions. So the town had to do that since the meeting was canceled through no fault of the applicants. So I really think it's important. The Zoning Board of Appeals does have alternates. They actually can have 2. At this point, they only have 1 because one of the alternates has since been appointed to be a full member of the Zoning Board of Appeals. So I think it's important that we have alternates, and I know that Ian at some point had given us a sample or a possible law that we could put in that I hope everybody's looked at. So I mean, I don't know how everybody else feels, but I think it's important.
Well, I said before, Rosanna, that I hate to reward the people who don't show up at meetings, and having alternates gives them an easier excuse to do so. But I think you're right. I mean, the stuff you're talking about is clearly more
And
important.
of course, my answer to that is, that's all well and good, and we say, okay, they're off the committee. In the meantime, you have a hole there that nobody to fill. So no matter how you do it, there's going to be a problem.
And I think even if we have alternates, the rules still stand. If the current members miss so many meetings or miss so many in a row, they're still subject to get removed.
Right, absolutely.
And that can still happen, but at least we have a fallback to fill in that period of time. And I think that if there are people that are really interested in being on the planning board or being involved with the planning board, I think that, and we get good applicants and we interview carefully, I think that they can be. The other concern was that, you're asking somebody to come in and vote on something they know nothing about. And hopefully, we can brief them, either Paul can brief them, Nina can brief them, somebody can brief them on what's going on. The alternate should get all the material that gets sent to the regular board, all of the applications, all of the sketches and the, whatever they need, and so they have it, so they can hopefully will keep up to date on what is going on, and we'll have all of that available. So I think it can work.
I think at this juncture, though, it's obviously it's something that needs to be done. I mean, we can hammer out the details of what responsibilities and what the guidelines are for alternates, but how many alternates do you think we would want?
I think, well, I mean, my thought was that we would go with what the Zoning Board of Appeals has. They have 2, and that we should have 2.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the planning board should have 2.
Yeah.
So can we as a board agree to ask Ian to resend us the planning board?
Yeah,
I'm sure
so-
I have it somewhere, Ian.
So
but-
I certainly can recirculate it. It was drafted many moons ago. It was designed to clean up our code a little bit with regards to the zoning board as well as the planning board, and create some statutory structure for our planning board. It was originally drafted to have alternates appointed. I believe it was in the discretion. There was some discretion. There wasn't a set amount. So if there was a necessity to have more than 2 for whatever reason may come up, you had the flexibility. And it was asked to be done that way when I did it before, just because of small town conflict issues and things that would come up. And we have a lot of people who are away for periods of time. So, I mean, technically that violates the attendance issues, but, there are other reasons for it. So that's why there was, it was drafted for, there was discretionary on the number. It wasn't a limit.
Okay.
Okay,
So, but I'll circulate it, and if there's comments, please email me.
okay, great. I'm going to throw the proposed food truck law to Nicole, since I know you've been involved in that.
Yeah, I had went through the comments, mainly they were Nina's comments, and I think Walter
Walter,
mentioned
right.
something. I mean, I agreed with, I want to say 90% of what she proposed. I don't know if anybody else looked at it. Yeah, I'm fine with it. In fact, I think one of the issues was SR, do we include it or do we not include it, I think, was that zoning specifically.
Oh, single-family residential.
Right. I'm okay with leaving it out, but my problem is, when I thought about the food truck law, my thing was events. You know, people get married at home, people have parties at home. I don't want to limit them having, if they have the property, because of the property,
There was still the exception.
stipulations.
Yeah, there's still an
Okay.
exception for that within the law. And again, the planning board, I think, really gave great advice as to where, because we didn't have any guidance really
Right.
where you guys wanted it. So the planning board kind of framed that out for us, and so I can update that local law and the corresponding sections, not only where it's zoned, but there were some other peripheral issues that stemmed from those changes, and I can add those.
Okay.
I had a couple of, oh, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, you know, some of those things I hadn't really thought about, because when I thought of the food trucks, I thought of events. I mean, I didn't
Right.
think of a 9-month food truck with tables and chairs. I was thinking of the music series, or
Right.
having a
Events.
community day down at Beacon Park and having food trucks, and it's a one-day event. So I guess when we had talked about this originally, I hadn't even thought about all the other pieces. So, you know, again, you know, those other pieces are important, I guess, to include in the law. So, I mean, I really have no problem with that. But like I said, that wasn't my thought when I was.
Right.
Yeah. I want to thank the planning board because the comments, there were a lot of things that I hadn't thought of. So
Right.
it is really great to see that all written out. So I appreciate that. I had a couple of just specific things that I wondered about, which I'll just mention. And Dawn, you might be able to answer this, but it has the permit that's required, but it doesn't refer to the peddler's permit.
That's what I wanted
Is
to
the
ask
assumption
Ian.
that gets replaced, or is that?
Yeah, does that still,
Independent.
Things.
they're two different
Two
things,
different
right?
things.
They're two different, they're two different things. We've kind of, for lack of having a food truck, we've kind of applied the peddler's permit to it.
Right, so
Okay.
this would,
So
we
this would
not-
be a
Right.
specific code section for food trucks, which is more applicable, it's more
Okay.
appropriate, it's.
Okay, that's what I thought, but
Yeah.
that was a question I had too.
Okay. And what about others?
The reason why I gave the supervisor the peddlers is because I wanted him to share it with Ian, so that way the two of them can have a similar structure. And maybe the workflow would be the same, because here we're sending it to the code enforcement officer, so maybe they would both go to the code enforcement's office.
okay, I see what you're saying.
So I was looking to try to get these items streamlined, so that way it's not one thing to the clerk, one thing to
To
the
the-
code enforcement.
right.
Yeah.
Why not let everything go through Mike, and then I was just trying to help and maybe make any necessary corrections
You're
to
so
peddlers.
thoughtful, Dawn.
So, well,
Something to-
consistency is good,
Yep,
right?
I just
Yeah. So is it the peddlers right now that goes through you?
Right.
So that would be a secondary local law.
And do you feel like that form needs to,
That's why I sent everything,
Yeah.
so that
it's
way,
very vague.
I wanted them to be similar, because
Okay.
then one is gonna say, how come for this, and I'm going door to door selling encyclopedias, and then this person who is selling food has this type of structure. So I really wanted you guys to have that behind the scenes discussion and see what was what's there and what's not there, especially if you guys are looking at improving your code and your zoning issues. This might be a time to include that.
Yeah, okay.
Sorry to give you more work. It's just.
Got nothing to do.
I had a couple of other points, sorry. Just go past it. Sorry. I know that in Hudson, for instance, there's a parking lot that has like 3 or 4, well, it would be 3 here, food trucks in a commercial zone, and that seems to be very popular. So I thought it was good that it sort of made a specific case for, A, for them to be in a commercial zone if there's more than one, and B, to sort of leave that possibility open, because there are other towns too that have had success with that. I don't think there's very much else. Sorry about All right, we're going to assume if there's anything else on my lengthy notes, I'll let Ian know.